Hey everybody, welcome back to Required Reading. We're continuing our read of Gremlins 2, the new batch, which is the novelization of the popular movie. This was a novelization written by David Bishop, and of course, it was based on the motion picture that was written by Charlie Haas and characters created by Chris Columbus. This is going to be chapters 7 and 8. Back at his cubicle, Billy Peltzer hurriedly slipped the toolbox under his desk. Looking around first to make sure no one was watching, he then put his hand in and hurriedly transferred the unhappy Mogwai to a drawer of his desk. Gizmo, you've got to be quiet. You don't want to go back to the laboratory, do you? Gizmo sighed and murmured a reluctant acquiescence. We'll go home soon, and there was a sharp gasp from behind him. His nerves just about shot. Feeling totally paranoid, Billy slammed the drawer and looked up. Everyone's attention was directly down the aisle toward where a bustle of activity clamored down the hall. Like heralds before a king, two bodyguards muscled into the area, the vanguard for Oz himself. Striding down the carpet was none other than Daniel Clamp. He moved easily in his Bironi suit. The scent of expensive men's cologne and money advanced before him. The famous chin jutted imperiously below a tight, self-confident smile and demeanor. Clamp's head swiveled around, inspecting the office area much as a captain inspects his ship. God, thought Billy, he was looking this way. Was he coming to talk to him? Was he coming, he thought in total paranoia, to take Gizmo back? But before Clamp could get anywhere near, Marla rushed out to greet her commander-in-chief, the boss of all bosses. She was all flashing teeth and coos. "Mr. Clamp, sir, I'm Marla Bloodstone." Marla Bloodstone radiated respect, shined of sycophancy. "I'm the department head here. If there's anything I can—" Clamp's eyes simply skipped over her, barely noticing the fawning woman. "That's okay." He turned to the people in general. "Everyone just relax and go back to what you'd be doing normally. I know I haven't been down here before, but that's going to change. I'm going to be a little more hands-on with these operations from now on." As if to demonstrate, Clamp looked around the offices, his eyes fastening on something in Billy's cubicle. "Hey, this is excellent." He was looking at the Chinatown drawing. Billy looked back at the drawing, even as Daniel Clamp drew close. "This?" Clamp studied the picture for a split second. "Yes, you've captured the whole essence of the project here. Look at the kids with the kites. That's warmth. I like warmth. What's your name?" "Peltzer. Bill Peltzer." Marla, saucer-eyed, looked on with mingled pride and envy as Clamp's hand moved out like that of Michelangelo's God to shake Billy's hand. "That's what we need here." He looked back to Marla specifically, as though to say, "This is my son in whom I am well pleased. People who produce." He pointed to the drawing. "Let's lose those elms, though. People think elm, they think Dutch. Disease." The desk drawer rattled. It was opening. "Gizmo!" Billy hastily closed it. "What's with that drawer?" said Clamp. "Oh, it's automatic," Billy explained. "It opens now and then in case you need anything." "Huh. I didn't know about that one." Clamp nodded and moved on. The audience with Billy's department was over. Marla moved up. A new appreciation for Billy Peltzer was glowing in her eyes. "Did you hear that? People who produce. I've been working here 6 years and I've never even seen him in person." "Well," said Billy, "he likes the drawing." "This is big, Billy. This is career opportunity advancement window." She paused and fixed him with a look. "For both of us." "It is?" Clearly. We could talk about it at dinner. Oh, that sounds great. I could do it. Let's see. Tonight, Marla pronounced assertively. No, I can't tonight. I've got... What he had was, of course, Gizmo, to say nothing of Kate. An appointment. I've got something tonight, too, Billy. A brochure for the Clamp Cable Archery Channel. It's a total suicide trauma red alert deadline situation. And you know what? I'm letting it go to have dinner with you. I just don't think I can... The door rattled again. What's with that drawer, Billy? Asked Marla. I know every feature in this building. We don't have anything that opens itself. Oh, I knocked against it with my leg. Billy, are you keeping some kind of pet in there? It's a good thing Mr. Clamp liked you so much, because... A pet? No, I'm allergic. Marla put on some of the old insistent bitch into her voice. Let me see. Come on. I think if we leave right now, I could go to dinner, but just a quick one. Great. Marla's mascaraed eyes flashed enthusiastically. There's this very chic new restaurant. It's Canadian. They clean the fish right at the table. Sounds fantastic, Billy lied. Let me just grab my coat and I'll be right back. She zoomed off, all a-twitter at the prospect of having dinner with someone so tight and close with the big boss. Billy waited to make sure she was out of radar range, and then he sat down at his desk again and opened the drawer. Gizmo, he said into it. I have to go now. Just wait here, okay? Just stay put for a few minutes and... He heard the click of high heels, smelled the cloud of poison perfume, heralding Marla's return. He closed the drawer. Okay, he said in an overly bright manner. Let's do it. He grabbed his sports coat and followed Marla towards the elevator. On the ride down, Marla stood uncomfortably close to him, as though sucking up the residue of the charisma shed from Daniel Clamp. It's like just a fire alarm ambulance emergency room job I have, Billy. 25.5 hours a day, 9 days a week, and I have the personal life of a slug hermit crab hibernating polar bear. I can't tell you how much it means to me to grab and share some quality time with a coworker. Billy's heart was pumping like a locomotive. He was confused. Was Marla coming on to him? Or was this what they called networking? Billy wanted to do the right thing and advance his career, but if this was the right thing, why did he feel vaguely guilty? Kate. Right. He had to talk to Kate. Like, right away, to explain. He couldn't let this opportunity go. As the elevator reached the lobby and the doors opened, he turned to Marla. Could you excuse me for a moment? I'll be right back. Sure. Billy hurried down the hall. Talk about everything at once. First Gizmo and now this important dinner with Marla. He'd just have to get Kate to deal with Gizmo. At one end of the lobby was a small office where the tour guides parked their stuff and punched their time clocks. Kate was there, as she told him she would be. She was taking off her microphone rig and generally winding down from a hard day's work. Hi, she said, brightening up immediately upon seeing him. I'm almost ready. Hi, listen, Kate. The smile dropped. What's wrong? Nothing, nothing's wrong, but I can't go out tonight. I have a meeting with some people. Oh, damn. I know, I'm sorry, but it's good for, well, what we were talking about, letting people know I'm there and everything. In the middle of the night? Oh, yeah. One more thing, Kate. I need you to do something for me. Something kind of big. What? Kate asked, her big brown eyes looking a little bit hurt. Gizmo's here. Gizmo? As in terror time in Kingston Falls? How'd he get me here in the Clamp Center? It's a long story. I'll explain it later. He's up in my desk drawer. You have to take him home. Take him home? Billy, this is nuts. If Gizmo pops out with gremlins again and those things start running around in New York City, there won't be any gremlins or any things. Just remember the rules. Gizmo can't take bright light. especially sunlight. It'll kill him. And you can't get water on him. And the most important thing, never feed him after midnight. Can't he just, I mean, go back where you found him? There wasn't much time to get her to do this. Billy grew impatient and insistent. No, I have to go to this meeting. Please, I'll be home as soon as I can. Kate relented, sighing. Okay, let me get this stuff off and punch out, and then I'll go and get him. Billy felt a great burden lifted from his shoulders. Great, thanks. He gave her a quick kiss and rushed off to rejoin Marla. There she was, looking like the cat who ate the canary. She was giving him a smile he'd never seen before. It looked nice, but it made Billy a little nervous. She slipped her arm under his and pulled him out of the building. Neither of them noticed Kate watching them from across the lobby. Chapter 8. Gizmo the Mogwai wanted out. The desk drawer was terribly claustrophobic, and besides, the scientist hadn't fed Gizmo much, and boy, was he ever hungry. Yep, he had to get out of here. A Mogwai had to move. A Mogwai had to explore. A Mogwai had to eat. Gizmo knew that he was high up off the ground, but it didn't take long for him to figure out a way to get down. He found a box of paper clips, and with his dexterous little fingers, he fashioned a chain-link ladder. He threw it out, and the end clattered to the floor. Then he started climbing down the makeshift ladder. Safely down on the floor, he scampered off for cover, just in case there might be humans around here. Safely tucked behind a desk, he peered out, his ears unfolding wide on the alert for danger. He heard nothing frightening. Then he opened his nostrils fully. They twitched, Mogwai senses on the alert for food. His nose found a trace of coffee, the remains of a pastrami sandwich, and half a jelly donut. His little stomach growled as he ventured out cautiously. A Mogwai had to eat. More specifically, a Mogwai had to eat before midnight. After midnight, phew! Gizmo didn't even want to think about that. After midnight was a disaster. Look at what happened last time it happened in Kingston Falls. He was happy to be back with his old friend Billy, but it had been the boy's carelessness that had been responsible for that catastrophe. That was why Mr. Wing had to come and take him back. Well, he just had to be real careful to make sure he didn't get wet this time. This place looked pretty dry, so Gizmo figured his search for food was safe. But even as he ventured out into the aisle, Gizmo heard noises. Wheels rattled, and a human voice muttered as a janitor pushing a cart of cleaning supplies came into the office area. He rolled his cart along, picking up trash and dumping it into his bin, murmuring to himself. Gizmo hid himself from the towering human. He wanted to avoid trouble. The janitor halted his cart's progress and shuffled over to the water fountain for a drink. He leaned over the spigot and pushed the button, continuing his muttering. All he managed was to splash himself in the face. He swore and tried again. The water shot every which way. A long, arcing stream of it splashed near Gizmo. The Mogwai shivered. His fur stood on end. Water! He had to stay away from water. Gizmo jumped and rolled back under Billy's desk. But the janitor sent another arc of water up through the air, and it came down on the other side of Billy Peltzer's desk. It slammed into Billy's trumped-up sketch of Chinatown, washed across it, and began to drip towards the floor below. Gizmo looked up to see the water streaming down straight for him. He couldn't get away. It splashed down on him full force, totally drenching one portion of his back. Oh, no! The pain kicked in immediately. It was worse than before, like a whole avalanche of needles sticking him. Agony! Gizmo writhed on the floor, barely noticing that the janitor, through with his rounds and disgusted with a water fountain, was wheeling his cart out of the offices. Gizmo could feel the offspring forming on his back, like giant bubbling carbuncles. And then, with thwipping sounds, the offspring sprung. 2 furballs shot from his back and landed in an open drawer of a nearby filing cabinet. Thwip! The painful Mogwai replication continued. A 3rd furball caroomed off a drafting table and bounced into a wastebasket. Thwip! Another furball shot from Gizmo's body. Recovered somewhat, Gizmo hoisted himself up on his hands and watched as this little super ball of fur zoomed around the office like the Roadrunner bouncing off the walls of a canyon. Gizmo frowned. Big trouble. He got to his feet and watched with disbelief and horror as 4 newborn Mogwai hands reached out of the filing cabinet drawer, gripping the top edge of the inside. Oh, 2 new Mogwais. They poked their adorable heads from the filing cabinet, peering about at this brave new world. One was big and dumb-looking. The other was smaller, but looked much more canny and conniving. He seemed to be ordering the bigger one around. They looked rather like the characters George and Lenny out of the Steinbeck novel of Mice and Men. The wastebasket rolled and rocked. It fell over, spilling all the trash that the janitor had missed, and another new Mogwai. Only this one was still folded up, and he was on his head. Gizmo, his pain subsiding, stared on in wonder. This one looked like one of those characters from the Looney Tunes he watched whenever he could. What was his name? Daffy Duck. Daffy, the Mogwai. The little guy's eyes were rolling about with absolute joy of being alive. He watched his own little hands unfold and gave a little whoop. "Wahoo!" said Daffy. Another trash basket tipped over, and a jumble of office waste paper was forcibly tossed out. A Mogwai with an extremely bad attitude strutted out, his evil eyes surveying the office. Yikes! And this wasn't even a gremlin, and it looked mean. The new Mogwai had a mohawk haircut above a grizzled face, and Gizmo immediately thought of him as Mohawk. "Uh-oh," said Gizmo as the Mogwai spotted him. Those black eyes glittered with a maliciousness born from deep evil. Mohawk moved in on him. There seemed to be some kind of telepathic contact between Mohawk and George and Lenny, because the 2 Mogwais jumped down from their filing cabinet and joined their evil leader. Daffy seemed too preoccupied doing Daffy things to bother with closing in on Gizmo. Mohawk moved in, leering at Gizmo, and then spit in his eye. Gizmo tried to run, but the trio grabbed him and held him fast. Meanwhile, Daffy was going absolutely wacky with the wet paint from Billy's drenched painting. He was getting wet paw prints all over the place. Behind Gizmo was a vent opening, covered by a metal grating. George pointed to it and whispered to Lenny, who nodded his dumb understanding. Lenny shouldered his way to the grating and yanked the force-fit grate from the wall. He clumsily bumped George with the grate, and George slapped him. Then Mohawk pounced. He grabbed Gizmo, and with George and Lenny's help, pushed him into the hole. In short order, the grate was put back up. Gizmo's fellow Mogwais laughed at him as he tried to push the grate back out and failed. They called him all kinds of names in Mogwai hisses and snarls, and then scooted away, sneering and full of themselves, grabbing Daffy and pulling him along with them for their mischievous hijinks. Gizmo was absolutely miserable. He should have never left the desk drawer. He desperately went to the other side of the vent and looked out into the hallway. The janitor's cart and feet moved past him. Oh dear, thought Gizmo the Mogwai. Billy was going to be really upset. All right, guys. So thanks so much for sticking around and waiting for the next couple of chapters to come out. As a way of saying thank you for your patience, I thought that we would go ahead and do a giveaway. So we have a required reading Gremlins 2 officially exclusive t-shirt design, including Greta Gremlin, which obviously hasn't been quite introduced into our story yet, with her slippery when wet sign. So what we're going to ask is for you guys to go down into the comments section, and we're going to pick out, we'll say, 3 of our favorite comments in the comments section for someone to win a, we'll say, a t-shirt of the Greta Gremlin Slippery When Wet exclusive required reading t-shirt. So go down in there, get your comments in, of course, like and subscribe, and thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Until then, keep reading.
Clamp Cable Network now leaves the air. We hope you have enjoyed our programming, but more importantly, we hope you have enjoyed life.